Hi, this is Westpac's end of day wrap for Monday, September the 19th. Look, Greece was very much in the focus again today, and unlike last week when markets seemed a little bit irrationally exuberant in terms of their interpretation of developments related to Greece, we saw European markets up 4 days in a row, US markets up 5 days in a row. But all it took was the weekend's finance minister meeting in Poland to deliver a real slap in the face of that positive sentiment we saw last week. As you may already know, the basic arrangement now is that the sixth tranche of the 2010 bailout package worth €8 billion that was to be paid to Greece in September has been delayed to October the 3rd, which is when Greece needs to finalise its 2012 budget. And the payment will only be made subject to eye-watering austerity measures that are causing huge anxiety, huge stress and huge concern both in Greece and I think indeed amongst the creditors of Greece. The measures are judged necessary by the European officials looking at the Greece budget position for Greece to achieve its budget deficit commitments. The economy is slowing more than anticipated, tax collections haven't been as strong as expected, and because of that, Greece has found itself in the position where it's only got a few weeks to basically put in place a huge range of measures. I mean, some of the examples are state pensions will simply be cancelled for younger retirees. There's going to be retrospective cancellation of public sector hires since early 2010. Basically, you just lose your job. I think that's going to affect something like 25,000 workers. Abrupt closure of state-owned enterprises in Greece, new taxes on a whole range of goods and services, and so on. The concern is that Greece simply won't actually, one, successfully implement these measures, and two, even if they were to be implemented, they may not deliver the budget deficit, the degree of budget deficit reduction required. So I think this past weekend will be seen as the real turning point when markets really started to believe that Greek default was just a short way down the track. Just so you know, if that payment isn't made in October, by the middle of October, Greece simply runs out of funds to pay the interest and maturities on its debt obligations. You know, so we seriously are potentially looking at a default, or perhaps an orderly debt restructure if European officials come to their senses within 6 weeks, within 4 weeks or so. So keep your eyes on that one. Needless to say, markets in Europe were down quite sharply today. Just running through some numbers for you. We've got French market down 3%, the German market down 2.8%. Remember in Germany too, there was another election at the weekend. The government got a real drubbing. Yet again, a sign that German voters are just getting sick and tired of the bailout funds that they're paying. Another reason to be concerned about the likelihood of these bailouts, not just for Greece, but Portugal and Ireland actually continuing going forward. The FTSE in London down about 2% today. Markets were a little bit off their lows, but not substantially so. They were closing prices for Europe. The US is still trading, of course. We've currently got the Dow down 1.8%, S&P 500 down 1.8% as well, NASDAQ down 1.1%. They were figures for about 5:45 London time. So really, Greece was the only story in town today. One other thing just worth mentioning briefly was that we saw home builder sentiment survey for the month of September in the US, and it fell to its second lowest reading since the economic recovery in the US began more than 2 years ago. In other words, housing is pretty much at its low point more than 2 years into the US economic recovery, which is yet another sign that housing just isn't participating, and that could actually prove to be, you know, the death knell for the sustainability of the broader economic recovery. And that's why the Fed meeting this week are going to be considering further policy stimulus. On the commodity markets today, just to give you a couple of numbers, mostly down. We've got copper prices down 3.8%, crude oil's down 2.9% today. We're looking at $85.40 a barrel. Even gold's down 1.7% today at $1,784 an ounce. And the Aussie dollar's fallen quite sharply too. It's just on 1.02 against the US dollar, from well above 103 just 24 hours or so ago. Speaking of Australia, we've got the Reserve Bank Board minutes coming out for their September meeting. everyone will be watching, reading them very closely to see if there's any hint that the RBA could be shifting from what seems to be a fairly neutral stance at the moment to a slight easing bias. Certainly at Westpac, we think that by the end of this year, the case will be made for an interest rate cut from the Reserve Bank. And I think that's about it. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow, no doubt, with more bad news on Greece and with some more thoughts about the Fed and the statement that will get issued by them after this 2-day meeting on Wednesday the 21st. Okay, I'll speak to you tomorrow.